4, 5. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Community Manager Appreciation Day 2016. We have been, as a community, celebrating Community Management Appreciation Day now for 7 years. It started back when Jeremiah Owing suggested that we have a day where we recognize community managers and the growing profession. So we have been doing this live broadcast now for 4 years. We've been doing awards for 3, and this year is really exciting. We had over 300 nominations for the different community manager awards, and so just recognition is really growing, and we love to see that. My name is Brew, Director of Awesome with Be the Change Revolutions, as well as co-producer at My Community Manager, and this is Sherry.
Hey everybody, I'm Sherry Ruddy. I am the Community Manager at Magento and co-producing MGR Hangout with Brew.
Hey guys, I'm Barack up here in Seattle. I'm the founder of Amplify Your Biz and the community manager for Meshfire.
Hey guys, I am Dom, project and community manager for Be the Change Revolutions, as well as co-host with Sherry and Brew for My Community Manager. Do just want to take a second to give a shout out to all of our fantastic sponsors. All of this would not be possible without them. So running through those wonderful, wonderful companies, you have Salesforce Community Cloud, Higher Logic, Online Community Results, Sprout Social, Vanilla Forums, Zoomph, CommunityManagement.org, SocialMedia.org, Amplify Yourself, Igloo Internet, and Meshfire. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors, and in about 6 hours, those sponsors, they helped with the awards this year, and we will be announcing our first award. But until then, what do we have coming up right now, Brew?
Well, we have coming up Succeed with Purposeful Programs on your community. And Matt, we're going to turn things over to you. Thanks, Matt.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Brew. Hello, everybody. So we have a terrific crew today, actually from Asia-Pac, EMEA, all the way to North America. So before we go on, what are programs and the stories around them, good and bad, let's make sure we understand context of everybody. And before going with all the panelists here, I'd like to begin with Alan. Alan, here you go. Please go ahead and present yourself and how you connect to this topic.
Good morning, everyone. Matt, thank you for that introduction. My name is Alan Lepofsky. I am one of those North Americans that was mentioned. I'm actually in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I come at this today. I work at Constellation Research, where I cover collaboration tools that help employees get their work done. And for 3 or 4 years now, I have been very focused on trying to get people to think about collaboration tools in the context of business processes, as opposed to just greenfield social networks, places that people can go and talk and do things, and there's great need for those. But in the business world, my focus is the context of how do communities, how do social networks apply specifically to the things people go to work to do: sales, marketing, finance, engineering, etc. So I coined this term purposeful collaboration, and Matt reached out to me, thankfully, being very nice. I think he latched on to one of my ideas that the key to success is purpose, is why I think I'm here to talk about. So it's not the people, it's not the technology, it's the reason you're doing something. And so I think throughout the next 45 minutes or so, we'll be able to dive deeper into that, and some people may agree and some people may not, and that's why panels are fun.
Cool. So from left to right, let's begin with Elise. Go ahead and introduce.
Hi guys, Elise. I'm settled in France, Paris. Nice meeting you all. Thank you for inviting us, Matt. Well, I'm doing this in the same category than you, Alan. I'm doing employee collaboration social business for 5 years now, looking every day how we can make this purpose happen, so that when people get at work in the morning, they use the social network, the enterprise social network, to do their work done, to have their work done. So lately we have been experiencing also the external collaboration, engaging with clients, partners, and make sure that we can make this a great success.
Excellently. So definitely enterprise social network here.
Yeah.
A lot of internal collaboration and knowledge and stuff. And
Yes.
good things external. Excellent. Looking forward to hearing that. So then we have Nikhil.
Hi guys, this is Nikhil Nulkar. I'm joining in from Bangalore, India. I think I'm the easternmost as part of the panel that we are having. Hopefully there'll be a lot more people joining in as part of the audience from this part of the world. I work at Tata Consultancy Services, TCS in short. We primarily part of a team which is part of the digital enterprise. We work mostly on the social media and workplace reimagination team. The idea really is to reimagine some of the employee-related as well as customer and partner-related community collaboration areas and repurpose the entire way in which we look at work, focusing towards some of the trends that we have seen currently out there in the market, such as future of work. So how does future of work look like, and what kind of organizations we are looking at, what kind of processes, models we should be looking at, and how does some of the emerging technologies, including social networks and a bunch of others, play a key role in that. And primarily, my area of focus is around focusing on the experience that the customers and the employees and the partners focus through a community management-based model of network. So that's the area of focus, of course. Apart from this, I've been mostly focusing on the community management side of things in the past 6 to 8 years, primarily on the enterprise side, but also a bit of B2B and bit of B2C as well. So that's me, Nikhil.
Excellent, Nikhil. And Alan, we've seen you playing with the the thing on your head. Sharon, lean up here on your side. And Sharon, you need to unmute.
Yes, I need to unmute. I see Alan has the halo I was talking about. I want it back. Okay. My name is Sharon Lena Pierce. I'm working over at Alcatel-Lucent Community Manager. We are focused mostly on employees in the enterprise. And this year especially has been a focus on efficiency with the community and the content that each community member produces. What we're trying to do is increase interactions. What we're trying to do is increase the quality of what they're doing so that they work together better.
Lovely, and you talked to me about these advocacy things. That sounds very exciting. So I went quickly and didn't even introduce myself. So I'm Matt Lanceau. I work with BMC Software, and I focus on BMC communities and external community. But reality is that for many things to work with customers and partners, I need many things to work internally. So I do the external community thing as an outcome, as what I need to deliver, but I need a lot of internal things to work fast with support, with engineering, with product management, etc., to please and delight customers. All right, so to begin with, so programs are often defined as a set of projects, and it's definitely about having people in the long term. It's not a very short-term campaign, but people in the long term engaging and seeing value so that everybody wins. When collaboration happens, everybody wins, both the customers, the partners, and the employees. That's my case here in external communities. So to begin with, let's define examples of low-hanging fruits that worked and on your communities and things you started with. So Elise, would you like to begin?
Yeah, sure. So one piece of story I wanted to share with you guys today. Social collaboration has been there in our company for 5-6 years now, and has to make sure that we can get employees' commitment towards what does it really mean, what kind of value does it create every day. This year we decided to launch a new program to do labelization, to give a reward label to a community that would make sense for the organization. So we launched that contest among the organization, the 4,000 people, and we put every community, every groups, every initiative at the same level, and ask every employees and even external parties to vote and to make sure they could say, yes, my community is bringing value. So we had some KPIs and measurement indicators to make sure that we get the right level of engagement, so that at the end, when we measure the program, communities would get the reward and would get a label. Yes, my community is actually bringing value to the company. So it was really challenging for us because we had different criteria. We wanted to have an amount of people contributing, but also engaging the management, engaging the external, and it was really key for us to say 70% of our community today, the initiative on our platform, have received the label, yes, my initiative is actually creating value for my business, my company. So 30% of them will get a chance this year, to get in the competition again and see if they get the label. So it was not like 100% chance to get the thing, but I think it was a really great initiative this year we've done as an example. Does that make sense?
It sure does. So were the people shy of proposing things, or was they like proposing crazy things sometimes?
No, they had to. They were pretty disciplined. I mean, they were sharing great stories, but at the end they had to vote. There was like 3 questions, very simple question. Does my community is bringing me value? And you had to choose between 1 to 5. So if you had to say 1, low value, 5, great value. So people were, engaging each other to get the people vote on the platform.
Sounds very good.
Does that make sense?
Yep, you bet. So Nikhil, on your side.
Right. So coming primarily from the vast experience that I have around the enterprise side of the stories, typical community programs, when we initiate in an organization for the first time especially, it's very important that I've seen people miss out on populating the community with some of the most important aspects, such as having some of the basic content in there, something that gets people to the community, something that people find it useful and valuable. It's also about spending that extra amount of time in setting up something what we typically call as the support center or the help center. Things which most users, when they come on to the first time on a community platform, it becomes a lot more useful and engaging for them to start invading and kind of browsing through the systems and understanding how this is going to bring in value for them. I think from a low-hanging fruit perspective, I think those are the issues, those are the points that should definitely be considered while launching a community program. Something that goes, I think, hand in hand when it comes to launching with a technology program. Of course, there would be a lot of things that you should be doing from an offline standpoint as well. Most often we forget the offline angle when we're launching a community platform, but I think that's equally important to spend that extra amount of time, because that's where our audience is currently, and you want to leverage that and bring in those people into an online community for leveraging the benefits we get from the community.
Lovely. Sharon, what is your take about how you revive engagement in your community, the programs you're using?
Yeah, the programs we're actually using focus on advocates and community managers, and I mention both because they usually go hand in hand. Most of your advocates do have smaller communities within the larger community, yeah, and all of them work together to create and to support on different levels. What we've seen a lot of this year is the support in the creation of the other members of the community, where the advocates are getting together to create FAQs, to create a mobile guide. And these are initiatives that they're picking up their own expertise, they're working together with the group, and they are actually creating these products as their own initiative. Another idea is like a photo challenge, where a collage is at the end, but what they do is get every member of the community together to get to know each other. They send in a photo, they send in a video, they send in a paragraph about themselves, and then they get together and they get that group charged. They get them like a team of 25. And within 3 days, they all know each other well, and they start working as a true team because of these activities that they have initiated as the base of all future collaboration.
That sounds terrific. Well, let's wrap up this question with Alan here. What is your experience with either internal or external community programs?
Okay, so it's interesting. We do a lot of advisory work around how companies should deal with their employees and try to get people active. I think we hear a lot of conversations around these things are attempted and there's some excitement for a while, and then the cliche is sort of inside the enterprise, communities and social networks go down. And the reason we have found for this, and I just sent out a tweet about this, and it's funny, I get a lot of feedback about this, but it's going to sound counterintuitive. For communities to succeed, you have to focus on the individuals. And a lot of companies don't get that. They're new at this. They think, I'm going to put up posters and I'm going to run campaigns and I'm going to have, tell all my employees that being part of this community is going to help our organization. It's going to help us sell more. It's going to help our marketing. It's going to improve our brand. All of these sort of approaches that try to make the employees be part of the bigger picture often neglect that people inherently at work anyway are pretty self-centered. People want to go to work and they want to get their job done. So we actually find community engagement improves when you explain the benefit to the individual. You say, you will be able to get your questions answered, or you will be able to close more sales quota, or you will be able to launch these campaigns faster, or engineers, you will be able to understand what our customers want better, so you'll be able to fix our product, blah, blah, blah. You really have to tell people why they should spend a minute, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever it is out of their day inside a community, asking questions, sharing content, answering questions, engaging with people, all of these things, because people still see that as an extra part of their job. They don't see that as what I go to work to get paid to do. So all of a sudden, if they can have an epiphany of how it will help them succeed, they become more willing to help the company succeed. If communities are doing well, of course it helps the company. But if you can convince people that they're going to get answers to what they need answered, if they're going to find the contacts that they need to find, if they're going to engage with the customers they need to sell more stuff, all of those things that are going to happen for them, they're going to want to be part of that community. And so people go, oh my God, community is all about groups of people. Community is not about individuals. Well, guess what? Your community is made up of a lot of individuals. So very counter to what I think a lot of people think about when they think about community.
Definitely relevant. Thank you for that. Could we have a quick, short statement about programs that failed? What have we done that did not work fine and we learned from that? Anybody in the crowd today having some stuff? Oh, Nikhil, go ahead.
All right. This is a classic example, and I've actually shared this story with a lot of people in this network. So this goes back to one of the organizations I was part of, and we decided to launch a community platform, and with the platform came something was called as the points. Which was obviously back in 2009 and 10, was just referred to as, it was just kind of picking on what we know today as gamification. So we had this point systems as well as the user rankings within the community platforms. And it just happened that as soon as we launched that, it kind of backfired on us. When I say us, I meaning the team which was trying to kind of promote this community platform. And then we started to get into the details of it, and we realized that we actually had not done our homework right. The real reason for it to backfire was the culture was completely different, and it's extremely important to understand what culture we are getting into, what kind of culture exists within an organization before we initiate any program for that matter. And in this particular case, the point system and the ranking work absolutely against us, against the whole purpose of what we were trying to achieve in there. And I mean, I wouldn't get into the details, but it was interesting. The whole system of game mechanics kind of didn't work at that point. Of course, it probably might work today in the same organization. Things change, people change, organizations change. But back then, it didn't work. And funnily, we kind of revoked that mechanism. We revoked that system of rewards and recognitions back then. And we suddenly saw the community flourish. And it was a fantastic experience to see it go from a place where people started on a wrong note because of the gamification in there, or the point system in there. But eventually, it became a community which was extremely, extremely popular in terms of leveraging each other's. And it really, really kind of reflected what the organization was in the offline mode. And it really kind of leveraged the interconnectedness across the geographies. So I think it's important that, you know, it was a lesson learned for us, because we kind of blindly went into it thinking that, oh yes, this is going to work for us. It will get more people contributing. It will get more people engaging, but it didn't. And finally, it worked the other way around. So I think it's just important to do that extra level of homework and groundwork as well.
And Nikhil, this is thanks, great story. Surprising, because indeed, gamification is all about, if done right, is all about fostering engagement. Can you please go a little bit deeper? What specific made the people unhappy? Not sharing too many sensitive, but
yeah, no, absolutely. So I think the first most important thing was back then we didn't have a very polished gamification program as such. It was really a very basic level where we just initiate people to contribute and get points around that. So people really didn't see any value in kind of collecting those points and do what? I mean, is it like your loyalty programs? What do you do with those points, right? So where does the value come in? And like Alan mentioned, what's in it for me? I mean, fine, I contribute, I get 10 points for it, but where does it go from there? So that was one of the main things. It was a very, very basic kind of a point system that we had in place. The second was the culture part that I mentioned. So the culture was already extremely community driven. And by bringing in a ranking system, it actually became counterintuitive, because so just elaborating on the culture a bit. So it was a culture where the organization doesn't believe in a hierarchy kind of organization. So we had a very flat structure where pretty much anybody and everybody could share and talk about anything anywhere internally. So just to give an example, you could pretty much shoot out an email on a all company-wide distribution list and ask the CEO, why did we take this decision? And the CEO would respond to that, and people would engage in a conversation. So that's the kind of culture we were talking about. And by bringing in a ranking system, it didn't really work. Secondly, it was also a very developer-centric. It was an IT organization. So it was a very developer-centric organization. So what happened was a lot of these new developers who would probably be part of the community would start to kind of not feel as good compared to somebody else who's probably been around for a long. But there could be, differences just based on the points that you see on a community platform, which really don't reflect the value that that person would bring in into a conversation, into a discussion, or into a project. So I think that was very important to highlight and understand that aspect of the culture before we actually get into those details of the point system.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks. Any other short story about the programs that did not work as efficiently as expected?
Matt, I might be able to help out.
Go ahead.
Can you hear? Okay. Yeah, launching an open group. When I'm saying open group in the enterprise, it means that it can apply to anybody, but only a few need it. And I'm going to give you an example. Like, you might open a group for social media marketing, thinking that everybody is going to help the enterprise with their social media, with their Twitter and their Instagram. And you get some people and you don't get that much interaction, so you reflect. And there were a couple of things that can be reflected. First off, what are people company-wide seeking to do their daily work? And they're not seeking so much to learn something new. They're seeking something new, something that's going to help the enterprise, which sounds real good. They want to help their own job to help the enterprise. And so it might be something like learning languages instead of learning social media. So I had to go back and reflect on needs. And after that, try to locate potential membership, the potential audience. Let them know that you're there. And then after that, I developed a system for continual marketing. That's one thing that you really can never stop promoting yourself when it's an open group, and it applies to, all 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000 people you have in your company, to let, aside from the notifications for the members of the group, to let the rest of the people know, because people have needs that come and go. So you want to make sure that those pieces of content that are most relevant go into different forums, different groups are referenced. You might use an internal communications piece. You might use a status update. And it's this continuous marketing and continuous information you're sending out to your potential audience that becomes a critical element as people have learned what they need to learn, drop off, and new people who need to learn come in.
Sounds very good, and that's actually a terrific segue to the next question about public and private. There are many things, in the internal community world. Public are these open groups, but then you have private programs in restricted areas. In the external world, it's obviously public engagement, B2B, B2C, whatever, with customers and partners. But then, for that to work, you may need private programs to have content seeded and everything. So any story about that? You all, private and public.
Mm-hmm.
So our community, for employee community, we share quite a lot of sensitive information on our platform. I mean, we use it for, we have a lot of engagement around our clients, around sales, around our partners. So we kind of make sure that people feel comfortable, and when they need to share this information among a small group, among trusted network, with external parties also, or internal, we engage a lot of, it's fine to do private group. What we do not allow is people to create unknown, like secret, not allowed groups. We want the community to be aware about what's happening globally in our system. Now we do not experience full public community like with external facing like BMC. We don't do that. We only use it for people we know, people we actually at one point of time invite. So it's always key for us for engagement, for conversation, so that this social platform remains a trusted network, so that we know everyone. Everyone has a profile, has an ID, and has a purpose to participate.
A purpose, so good one, Elise.
I'm gonna like that.
Yeah.
And if you have not heard, Elise is social media director at Devoteam, working from Europe.
We're an IT consulting firm, so we're selling professional services to our clients, delivering IT consulting.
So, Matt, on that sort of note of public versus private groups, it's funny. Maybe it's because it's early in the morning. I never want to consider myself the contrarian sort of person, but it's interesting that one of the observations I've seen throughout the years is the idea that the larger the group, the more successful engagement you'll get. And I actually do not think that's true. I think a few years ago we were all excited, let's get off of email and let's move everybody into social and all these crazy beliefs. And the idea of having everybody open to things actually scares a lot of people. It creates too much noise. It creates places people don't want to go. If you don't like looking at your own inbox, why would you like looking at everybody's inbox, which is essentially what a giant community is? So we have found that a lot of smaller, more focused groups can get a lot better, results. And I'm going to leave it to the community manager experts to define what results are. Some people like to measure number of people that are engaged, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe in any of that. I think if you have a sales community and there's 200 people in it and only 5 are talking to each other, but everyone benefits, that can lead to million-dollar deals. I don't want to say that 5% engagement is a failed community, but that's maybe another question down in today's conversation. You wanted to know about public versus private. I actually don't think private communities are a bad thing. I think the sales team may want to create a community to discuss an upcoming customer that the rest of the company doesn't need to see, not because it's secure or private or confidential, just because it's not what they're working on at this moment. It shouldn't be locked down that they don't have access to it. If they do need to get into it, they should be able to. So it's more about discovery versus viewing. If I want to find something, it shouldn't be locked down like people's inboxes are. But I don't necessarily need to log onto my intranet and see it in my face all of the time. So I think instead of public versus private, let's just call them, ones I'm part of or ones I can discover, I guess. So, that was a long-winded, rambling way of saying I think smaller communities are not necessarily a bad thing.
And Alan, I'm fully with you. I'm actually advocating. Okay, I'm not. I just have data points that actually highlight the funnel. The funnel we have between pure social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., then public communities, then private communities. And by the way, to Elise, we do also have secret communities where acquisition talks happen. It has to be secret. Nobody needs to know about that. So anyway, engagement. It's a funnel because we want people to go down. Found on Twitter, LinkedIn, then going in public communities, then going down in private communities. And it's also a loyalty and engagement leaderboard here. The engagement we get on Twitter, LinkedIn is far less than on public communities, far less than on private communities. So that's why we want people to go down, and then it just works itself because people enable up from private to public, from public to social media. So definitely, I would love to hear more stories from you. Keep being mindful with time. So we have a couple of programs, public, private. We have many programs because we started a lot of things on our communities. How we guide, how do we orientate users? How can we make sure that the right program find the right person, or the other way around, actually? Who wants to speak on that? How to orientate users?
Hi, Matt. This is Sharon again, Sharon Lena. I think you start with a good search engine. Now in our case, we have open governance, which means that anybody can create a group, and it sounds like we have several people here that have the same situation, but our first recommendation is to search, to look, to find out who is doing what you are doing, and try to join them first. And of course, if you don't find that, you can go ahead and create your own group because it's open.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you become the community manager and responsible for. That's right. You're responsible for your community.
Yeah, you volunteered, you own it. Sounds good. Nikhil, on your side.
Yeah, I was just going to actually club the last two questions and kind of share some thoughts around it. So I think in the process of trying to create public and private programs, as well as not getting into this confusion of having way too many programs, I think the gist of all of this is really going back to our title of this this hangout as well, right? It should be purposeful. If we can really focus on what the users really want, then we can really get to the answers that we're looking for these two questions. Now, just kind of elaborating on that. So if you look at public and private communities, I think, like Alan mentioned, each tool or each feature within a tool has its own use case, has its own value. And it's important that we identify that there are certain situations where public communities actually play a public program kind of plays a bigger role versus a private one. And whereas you could have a private group, which could be, like you mentioned earlier, for acquisition purposes, or it could be something very close to maybe a deal that people are working on, which is strictly confidential and things like that. So it's really important to figure out what works in the use case that we are looking at and apply that scenario accordingly, whether it's public or private. Now, talking about the maze, I think again going back to my earlier point, it's important that we get into the shoes, the user's shoes, so that we understand what is it that they are looking for. I can give you a classic example. So what we did was, in one of our initiatives, one of our programs, we decided to actually open up our UAT to some of the champions within the community. Now, what we did was something similar to the vendor was doing with us as customers by opening up an early access program. We did the same thing with some of the people within the organization. Now, it was a private program in that sense, and it was a very focused program, so there was no question of confusion between certain users or not. We made it open. We let people know that this is what we are looking to do. This is the early access program. This is what you get with it, but this is the responsibility you get in with. This is the kind of expectation we have from you as one of the early access program members. So I think overall it's important to focus on the users and get into the user's shoes, and then figure out which program kind of fits in there, and then push it along those routes.
Sounds cool, Nikhil. Just to mention it, the biggest program we have on BMC Committee is a beta program. We're a software vendor, and customers, partners want to know, want to influence the next release. So those private programs are huge, and they help nurture champions who help on public programs later on and then elevate on social media. So definitely in line with what you mentioned. Mindful with time again. What about content type? What about the balance you guys find between user-generated content, like fully free, let's scare you, oh, they engage, or informal vendor content, or fully branded content from your brand?
Well, I'll get an answer, Matt. It's been terrific. I mean, we use our social network also for intranet purpose. We removed all the other systems, and now we have this community and the intranet. And even if we have internal collaboration, I would say more than 95% of the content is created by end user. We only may have like 5% that is coming from marketing, corporate communication. So it's really a platform where you don't have to be shy. You don't have to have a title to participate. Everyone with his own knowledge, with his own skills, is really welcome to participate and share their work. And not even the final version. I mean, we encourage a lot of the working out loud philosophy. So people should not be afraid to share every time they have an opinion, every time they start to work on a piece of work, they share it with their group. It's private or public, depends. But so it's a very trusted and safe environment, so people share and create. So I would say 95% of the content is user.
Excellent. Great story here. Who else would like to share something here? User-generated, informal vendor created, or fully branded content? Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to butt in quickly again. From my experience, I think I'm kind of with Elise when it comes to specifically around community programs, right? It's always good to see a user-generated content being pretty much prominent in these community programs. So yes, I've more or less seen 85 to 90% of it being user-generated. It really depends on how well we are trying to, rather more than saying well, I would say how are we trying to position our program with the users, right? Like Elise mentioned, if you're looking at this as the single door to anything and everything that you're looking at internally, as an enterprise platform, then yes, it probably should have a good amount of branded content in there as well, something that the company or the organization usually pushes down to the users, as well as user-generated content. So it got to be a combination of that. But then that varies from company to company. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah. No, combination, mixed. Mixed
yeah,
content
absolutely.
is often helping a lot here.
Yeah.
Alan, Sharon, anything around that?
Which one do you have now? You have Alan or Sharon?
Yeah, you spoke first. You got it.
Oh, I unmuted. Okay.
Ladies first.
We usually have, of course, a greater amount of user-generated content. The platform is about the user, about the member, and I just wanted to point out the enablement and the empowerment that we have to give to the user to produce a good content that the other members in the communities can use. We can't. I really want to emphasize that. We are doing it basically by using the personal coaching. When you see a piece of content that's really good and can be better, when you see a content that reaches a certain part of the community, but not the entire community. So if you've got a community where your user is generating the majority of this content, community managers, social collaborators, we need to get behind them, and we need to raise that up for them to make them get the information they need to collaborate with the people that they need to collaborate with and support the company.
Definitely fair here. And
So,
then on the other side.
So Matt, you want me to jump in and give some research analyst future thinking point of view on this? Okay, so it's interesting. One of my big research areas, and this is not really happening much today, but is something I'm excited to see happening in a lot of community software. Maybe this year, maybe next year. I've been working with from the giant companies down to the small ones, is this idea of, and I apologize for using buzzwords, but this idea of artificial intelligence inside communities. And what these tools are going to do is really be able to personalize and filter and create content and display content based on a lot more detailed factors than what they do today. Today you log into a community and you may see things based on tags, you may see things based on date and time, but imagine as our computers get more advanced and the wearables that we wear know our heart rate and our mood and our stress level and our location
Geo.
and all of these things. Yeah, we said geo and location at the same time.
Yeah.
The content starts to get filtered in a lot more appropriate and accurate and personalized ways. And that way, the sort of discussion around user-generated content or brand-created content shifts to, regardless of who the creator is, it starts to become more accurate. If you're on an external community and it's all about your products or support, well, I may not necessarily want to see the same things that you're seeing. So I don't want to just jump into the Nike or BMC, support community. I almost want Alan's support community. And that is something that's very, very difficult for brands to do today. It's hard to create a community for tens of thousands of individual customers. But filtering or artificial intelligence or whatever buzzword you want to use here is going to allow those communities to act far more intelligently. And I'm only going to see the things relevant to me. And I think that's a really exciting change that we're going to see both externally and internal on our intranets as well. So probably don't have time to go into more detail about that, but I'll just throw that forward-thinking thought out there for you.
Love it, love it. And I've got Shadab in my team working on personalized stream. So that people don't have to look at everything. Everything is scary, but something that is personalized based on geotechnical everything. That's a tough job, but that could be highly valuable for sure.
Yeah.
So we touched a little bit about that, about granularity of programs versus communities. Like, can we have one community and several programs on it? Or for each new program, we need a community? Can we have a community without a program? How does this work out? Ooh, this one was a tough question.
Don't be.
Nobody here? Nikhil, we want to hear from you here.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to pitch in by understanding a little more context around the question itself, right? So, I mean, it can be understood in a lot of context. If I could just pick one of those, a lot of these communities and programs that we have seen in the past, at least I've been part of, they really revolve around and again, sorry for using the word again, but it's really driven around the purpose. So it really would vary based on that. If you're looking at going at what granularity we want to get into those programs, and it would really vary depending on what kind of users, what users are typically expecting out of those programs. So I think the 1:n ratio or n::n ratio would really change dramatically depending on the purpose of the community or the purpose of the program that we are trying to launch in there. There are situations where one-to-one actually works, and that's why we are seeing a huge comeback of enterprise messaging systems, including ones like Slack, which are doing really well off late. And at the same time, you have these really widespread public communities which work on the end-to-end basis. So it really depends on what purpose we're trying to achieve, and based on that, the granularity as well as the ratio at which we would want to pitch in the program versus the community would come into picture. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, oh yeah. Sure. Anybody on the ladies' side? Elise, Sharon?
From my side, it's a tough question. I see I consider to have one community only, but we're only 4,000, so may not be sure that when you have like 300 million. I mean, we have quite a community that we can manage. But then we have different programs. We have programs for functions like HR, marketing, sales, the business function. We ask people to rethink the way they work to do their job. So we have embedded business processes in the platform, not to make them do things they don't want to do, but to make their life easier. And they decide. It's really a people, like Alan was saying before. It's an individual way of thinking. It's not the companies, deciding for you. And then we have those programs more for our professionals, the consultants, where we activate the collective intelligence. So there, it's more about sharing their experience, making sure that they remain the best experts on the space about the technology that we're delivering at our clients. So some specific programs and very broad for consultants, but everything is happening in the same community. I mean, I told you it's our intranet too.
Yeah.
So
but at least you've got various, you've got various spaces, various groups for this to work.
Yeah, sure.
So
many.
Do you have a program tied to any group, to any space, to any sub-community at DevoTeam? Or do you have some programs or some groups, spaces created and, okay, let's see what happens?
It really depends on the. Yes, we do have different programs for professionals where we create some specific communities, knowledge communities, communities of practice of experts, and those are safe and managed, whereas in a different situation, people can create what they want at any time, create groups. But there are standard spaces that are only, you cannot create from scratch whenever you want. You need to be engaged in a more knowledge management, knowledge sharing official program. And then you get a chance to create an official group, yes.
Cool. So groups are kind of informal, whereas spaces are more mature, I guess, organized.
Yes,
excellent.
That's true.
I'm reminding of time, so let's make sure we have this broad question proposed by Nikhil. So Nikhil, you'll be the first one to answer. How is the changing face of community management and role of community managers affecting the program?
Yeah, I think more than really getting an answer for it, because it's a broader topic. I just want to get a quick view of the different panelists around on this hangout, and just have this topic discussed through this channel right now, but really out there in the open, things are changing dramatically of late. Whether it's technology, whether it's like Alan mentioned, artificial intelligence coming into your community programs, a bunch of other things that's happening of late, which is really changing the way we used to see community management as a practice, or the role that a community manager used to play. That's changed dramatically in the last 5 years or so. So going forward, things are going to change. Obviously, the expectations from these roles and from these programs are going to be different. So I just wanted to quickly hear what people feel about this, the change that we are seeing of late. And generally, I mean, maybe it's just me who's seeing it, and I'm happy to hear people say, no, it's the same. It's going to continue the same way. But if it is, then how do you see it change? And I can quickly go in with my own opinion here. I think the role of community manager and the community management as a practice probably will change, and it will change, of course. And I would see that as an evolving kind of a practice going forward. And I think there would be a lot more new skills, a lot more new mechanisms and methods that would need to be brought into the picture to continue to achieve the purpose for which we used to have community managers in place in the first place. So I think it's that change that we are seeing currently, especially with the new technologies coming into the enterprise. But I think the role itself would probably still remain. It's just that the nature of the role would change dramatically going forward. And I definitely want to hear Alan on that.
Sure thing. Okay, so sure thing. So my take on it is, communities have been new over the last 1, 3, 5 years, whatever it is, depending on where your company is at. You may not even have them yet. And the role of the community manager has been, in a large part, facilitator, moderator, keeper of the content, trying to help people get engaged, trying to help people learn to use the community. We're now in a society where that isn't as necessary, whether it's because we understand Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever it happens to be better. The getting people to be involved in the community isn't 100% as needed as it once was. I still think community managers are very much needed, but I think their role is going to change, that they are going to have to start to understand, back to my concept of purpose. Yeah. They're going to need to be more technical on a specific business process. People can't just be engagement experts or people that understand how to run contests or communities. Your community manager is going to need to have sales expertise or marketing expertise or some sort of middle ground between the reason you're inside that community and just the general feeling of engagement. They're going to need to be someone who understands building pipeline but also understands social. They're going to be someone that needs to understand opening and closing support trouble tickets, but also understand customer engagement. I think you're going to have more specific community managers, and not just people that are great at social media and are out of work marketing people or bloggers that have labeled themselves community managers. They're going to have to be more business-oriented people, because at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about here, is making business more successful. And so I think community managers' tool sets have to improve.
Yeah, and just to quickly kind of revolve around that point, so I think one of the things that the reason I wanted to bring in this topic was with the recent conversations that I've been tracking online around Facebook at work coming into the picture and how that's changing the way people see, because everybody thinks, oh, everybody knows Facebook, so what's the big deal about it? Why do we need community managers? And like you mentioned, Alan, I think I'm coming from the same side, where I think it's important that people understand the purpose why we have Facebook at work in the first place, for that matter. So it's not just really understanding the tool and the functionality of the tool, but really the purpose behind and how do you actually leverage the value from it.
We definitely close the loop here. So before we're killed by everybody here, let's have a closing comment. One statement from Elise, and then Sharon, and I'll end and give the floor to you guys. Elise, one closing statement.
Yeah, one closing statement. Well, I'm gonna, I don't know.
Sharon!
Sharon, go first.
Hi. In closing statement, create an environment in which people can really debate, in which people can interact, and put forth the tools they need.
Okay, Elise. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Well, I would say take a lot of pleasure in the way you use this system, and make sure it make your life easier, and you know, and do not be don't be afraid to change the way you daily work. If you are not ready to do that, first be the change agent in your work. That's key for the success.
Definitely a good one, and it's CMAD. So I'll end up with a statement from a community manager who worked at BMC. That's Ether Osmus. She said, each program needs to begin with addressing what's in it for me.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Really, really appreciate it. This was a fantastic panel. If you guys are watching, have any other questions, make sure to follow all these guys on Twitter and chat with them there. And see you guys in about 2 or 3 minutes for the next panel. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.